I guess people have been watching a lot of Justin Gaethje tape leading up to this Dustin Poirier 2 fight because I see a ton of people changing their minds when only a couple months ago, everyone was talking about how Gaethje looked like a sloppy drunk man on the feet leading up to the Fiziev fight. But it's when you watch the tape and you realize that there's actually a method to the madness these days. He has surprised a lot of us with his recent improvements and performances over people like Rafael Fiziev, but although I picked Justin Gaethje as soon as this fight was announced, partly due to the fact that it's going to be at altitude in Salt Lake City, I do not think that a massively improved Justin Gaethje is enough to beat only a slightly improved version of Dustin Poirier. People are thinking too deeply into all of this, guys. Yes, Justin's gotten better, but they're acting like DP isn't one of the best boxers in MMA history. I think that people are getting a little bit too carried away. I think it's this mindset that, oh, we doubted Justin heavily and now we have to give him his credit because we actually see him improving. All of a sudden he beats everyone on the feet. No, I don't think that Justin Gaethje is a better striker than Dustin Poirier. I don't believe that he's ever been a better striker than Dustin Poirier. If you look at the wins that Gaethje has recently, we're going to be a little bit more impressed. Now, note the word impressed. What is impressive? What I'm not necessarily impressed with is when you get your ass kicked and then you have one moment and you land a good shot at the end of the first round and all of a sudden you win the round because you drop someone. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about Dustin Poirier getting his ass kicked against Michael Chandler in the first round, and then in the last 30 seconds, he finds a big moment, tees off on Chandler, and then drops him at the end of the round. Guys, Dustin Poirier is not as impressive as he used to be. And I believe that this is why a lot of people are starting to say that he is slowing down or he hasn't made a lot of improvements. And this was my original take because I was watching the first fight that Poirier and Gaethje had, and the first thing I noticed was, holy shit, this is a different Dustin Poirier. Like, I don't know if it's just because that fight was closer to his initial move from the featherweight division to the lightweight division, but he looked so much faster. And from the moment that fight started, he just started letting it rip. And I'm talking like 6-piece, 7-piece combinations right off the bat. Now, yes, Justin Gaethje was more tempting to kind of make a move on because at the end of the day, if this guy's just sitting there waiting for you to tag him, waiting for him to throw a big haymaker, it's an easier target to land on. But I noticed that Dustin Poirier's speed, his entries, the ability that he had to just let a fucking 5-6-piece combo rip at any given time is something that we don't see anymore. And ultimately, the reason why I think that Dustin Poirier is less impressive and why it's a good thing is because there is a method to the madness. Like, I think Dustin Poirier has purposely decided to be a much more patient fighter going into these battles to kind of just wait for one moment. Look at any Dustin Poirier finish, the Conor McGregor 2 fight, where he finished Conor and TKO'd him up against the fence. All he needed was one good moment to rock Conor, then he started teeing off on him, and it was done. The Justin Gaethje 1 fight, he slipped a punch, countered with the straight left, right? That left down the pipe, and it was done. Dustin Poirier has perfected his style, and at this point in his career, he has learned how to be as efficient as possible in the octagon. He is throwing less shots. He is less aggressive because his goal these days is to let the fight come to him, to make reads, to basically expose his opponent, to take some of the steam off of his opponent's shots so that in the later rounds, when Dustin Poirier gets better with his defense as fights progress, Dustin Poirier has some of the best boxing defense in the game. He almost gets into like a flow state as the fights goes on. When he makes his reads and he's in that flow state and he's starting to slip your shots and get out of the way, all of a sudden this guy's basically damn near impossible to hit and he can make you pay. And when Dustin Poirier hits you and gets you with a good shot and hurts you, you're as good as done. And so what I think is going to happen is I think Dustin Poirier is going to let patient Gaethje come to him. And the reason why I think it's going to work is because Gaethje is not really a guy that has the best boxing, bro. Gaethje's got really good hands, 100%, but I do not believe he's got a deeper boxing arsenal than Dustin Poirier. And although Justin Gaethje might wind up a little bit more on his shots, I think that, again, Dustin Poirier's head movement, his boxing defense, is something that is going to allow him to slip and rip out of a lot of these situations with Justin Gaethje. And you look at Gaethje's style, Gaethje's kind of like a 1-2 shot guy max. That's it. You'll see a couple of power shots from him. He might throw a couple of hooks every now and then, but overall, we don't see many long-form combinations from him. And I believe that that's kind of perfect for Dustin Poirier's defensive boxing style, to where he'll kind of just move out and he'll make you miss a shot. He'll roll out of the way and then he'll counter. And as Dustin Poirier's fights go on, he gets better and better and better with his defense. If you look at the Max Holloway fight, there's a moment in between the third and the fourth round, I believe, where Max Holloway is saying to his corner, I can't hit the guy, he's blocking weird. There's something going on with Dustin Poirier's boxing defense where he's got his hands up and he's slipping these shots and he sees everything coming and you're missing everything. You're either landing on his guard or you're just slipping right past him. You're hitting air. And I think that Justin Gaethje is going to be hitting air in the later rounds. Now, will he have success early? Yes, I believe that Gaethje, when he's explosive, when he's, in his right mind and he hasn't gotten rocked, I believe he'll be having some success on Poirier. But as the fight goes on, the way that I see this unfolding is Dustin Poirier slowly increasing his volume after he makes his reads early, and Justin Gaethje starting to miss more and more shots. And ultimately, who has the deeper bag when it comes to the hands? I think that Dustin Poirier's got a deeper bag with the boxing. I think he's got more tools. I think he's more competent with all different kinds of punches, whereas Justin Gaethje, he's got a nice overhand. He's got really nasty hooks. He's got that nasty uppercut that he likes to throw in tight. And of course, all of a sudden, he's starting to use his jab more often. But those are kind of the only attacks that Justin Gaethje is throwing. And of course, they usually come in like a 1-2 sequence, like a 1-2 shot, and that's it. We don't really see 3-4 piece combinations from Justin Gaethje. And I think that a high-level striker in Dustin Poirier is going to be able to pick up on a lot of these attacks because, let's be honest, they can be a little bit predictable. Now, actually not getting hit by them is a whole other thing. I do expect Dustin to get cracked quite a bit in this fight, especially early on. But I think Dustin Poirier's boxing defense is good enough to be able to kind of make reads early on this select few amount of really good things that Justin Gaethje does to where he'll make him miss and he'll eventually be able to counter, because you think about all the attacks Dustin Poirier has and all the ways he's able to attack you with his boxing. I think he's got a deeper bag. I really do. He's got a nice jab and he can use that jab on the back foot. He's got a really solid straight left hand and it's like a piston as well. A lot of power in it. He can counter you with hooks. One of the best combinations that Dustin Poirier has in general is that jab into the lead left hook. He'll just chuck out the jab and immediately follow it with a beautiful hook. And of course, if he wants to put you on the back foot, he can start sprinting at you with these long form combinations with big swinging hooks. And if you're on the back foot, Dustin Poirier can slip back and let a left hand rip. And all of a sudden you're rocked, you're dazed, you're out on your feet, and you're done. So I think that Dustin Poirier has more ways to hurt you. He has more ways to attack you. Yes, his footwork isn't as good as Justin Gaethje at this point in his career, but ultimately, this is going to be a striking battle. These guys are going to be banging in the pocket. And who have you seen look more impressive in the later rounds against high-level strikers? In my opinion, it's Dustin Poirier. I understand that Justin Gaethje just got an amazing win from Rafael Fiziev. But here's the thing about Fiziev. Fiziev's hands are not all that. They're not that great. And Fiziev, when he throws a combination on the feet, he likes to use his kicks as well. So he'll throw a kick and then he'll finish off with a couple of hooks, or he'll start with a right hand, he'll turn it over into a kick. But we don't really see this guy letting his hands go for more than 2 punches max. And I think that Dustin Poirier is not going to go in here with a kick-heavy approach because, come on, Rafael Fiziev's kicks did absolutely fuck all to Justin Gaethje. Let's just be real about that. And he's not the same kind of boxer as Dustin either. And I believe that Dustin Poirier will have way more success in the boxing range with Justin Gaethje. And that's where Gaethje has the most of his success. So guys, I think it's going to boil down to the boxing, to the hands. Who's got the better hands? Not only who's got the better hands, but who is more defensively sound. And so therefore, because of that stonewall defense of Dustin Poirier, it's then going to boil down to who's got the chin. Okay? And I think that's Dustin Poirier. I think both guys are tough. I don't think either guy is going to wilt. Okay? But Dustin Poirier, I do not remember the last time he's got hurt. In fact, I think the last time he got hurt badly, really badly, was the Michael Johnson fight. But since then, I have not seen Dustin Poirier get clipped and badly rocked. Whereas Justin Gaethje, I've seen plenty of moments in the past few years to where he's gotten hurt, where he's gotten clipped. I mean, for goodness sakes, we saw Charles Oliveira send this man flying across the octagon. And Charles Oliveira landed that flush right hand of his, the same one that he hit Gaethje with, on Dustin Poirier multiple times. And look at what happened. Nothing. Dustin Poirier was not hurt, not once. in that first round with Charles Oliveira, which was an all-out war, one of my favorite first rounds of all time. And obviously people talk about, well, how come Gaethje did so much better with Chandler? Talk about Gaethje and Oliveira. Look at what Dustin Poirier did to Oliveira in the first round. Kind of cleaned him up. And yes, Oliveira did well in that first round too. Landed a lot of good investment shots on the body with the knees in the clinch. Landed a lot of good right hands, but ultimately Dustin Poirier got the better of it. And I believe that he dropped Oliveira twice in that round. And he had never gotten hurt badly. We look at the Conor McGregor fight. I understand that it's 2021 Conor. It's not peak Conor, but it ain't 2023 coked up Conor either. You know what I mean? It's not the laughingstock Conor McGregor. The Conor that Dustin fought in the rematch still packed a punch. He was still fast, and he tagged Dustin Poirier with a couple of really clean, sneaky combinations. And the only reaction got was Dustin Poirier just shaking his head a little bit, scoffing at him and showing some bravado, saying that didn't mean shit. You just landed your best shot and I'm still here. And that's kind of all I've seen. I've not seen Dustin Poirier get hurt, not once. Michael Chandler landed his best shot on Poirier. There was only one tiny hairy moment, and he wasn't even that badly hurt. He got hit by Chandler's best shot. He kind of moved back to the fence, waited for Chandler to attack, and then started to slip and roll, and he was all there. He was seeing everything coming. And I think that out of Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier, the one that is more susceptible to getting KO'd is Justin Gaethje. I'm also thinking about that time in which he got uppercutted by Tony Ferguson and dropped at the end of the second round, right? And I'm thinking about that time he got KO'd by Eddie Alvarez, TKO'd by Alvarez, and the time he got TKO'd by Dustin Poirier. So, I have more moments of Justin Gaethje getting KO'd at lightweight than I do Dustin Poirier. There's only one time in which Dustin's been KO'd at lightweight, guys, and that was against Michael Johnson. That's it. But guys, at the end of the day, even though Gaethje has improved a lot, when you get down to talent, who is the more talented striker? I think it's Dustin. I think Justin Gaethje, they've done a great job in trying to peak his stats out. They've done a great job at trying to peak him out, right? Just really improving his footwork, improving his head movement, his angles, making him more efficient as a power puncher. But I think that Dustin is just more of a natural striker. I think he's more of a natural boxer, and it just looks more effortless. Right? When Justin Gaethje throws his strikes, it looks like he's putting everything into them. And he's still kind of closing his eyes at time and swinging big. And we saw this guy overswing big against Charles Oliveira and end up falling. And I don't really see this same type of shit with Dustin Poirier, who, in my opinion, was just meant to be a boxer. I feel like if Dustin were to just pick up boxing and pursue that, we could be looking at a world champion. He's got ridiculous talent. And he's just a little bit more finesseful. At the end of the day, what's going to happen is these guys are going to get into a scrap, all right? And they're going to resort to who they really are as people. And I understand Justin Gaethje's been polished and he's kind of been maxed out by his coaches. And Dustin Poirier's got the finesse. But I feel like they're going to go to war and we're going to see the old Justin Gaethje, or at least a little bit of him, right? I picture Gaethje having an alter ego named Rufus or some shit like that. That's this wild guy inside of him. And I think Rufus is going to come back. He's very well coached and he's improved massively. He's a natural fighter for sure. But I think that when it comes to the boxing, which is what the striking is going to boil down to, it looks a little bit more forced. Okay? It looks a little bit like he is doing everything in his power to land that big shot. Whereas Dustin, it just looks like it comes more naturally. So that's why I believe Dustin Poirier is going to get the better of him. I think we're going to see this all happen and unfold in the second or third round, the end of the second round or the third round. That's my pick. I'm picking Dustin Poirier by a TKO. And another thing that I want to mention, aside from the boxing of Dustin Poirier, is the fact that he has more ways to win this fight when it comes to the grappling. Dustin Poirier does have a decent chance to go out there and submit Justin Gaethje. And if you look at Dustin Poirier's career recently, he's been showcasing his offensive grappling a whole lot more. Look at the two Conor fights, the two previous ones. Okay, the rematch, he took Conor down. He frustrated him on the ground. The trilogy, he took Conor down and beat the shit out of him on the ground, right? But the thing that I really want to get to is the moment in which Dustin Poirier was able to turn the tide in the grappling against Michael Chandler in the third round. So, of course, Chandler had taken Dustin down in the second round, kind of just kept him there, smothered him, beat him up, frustrated him. In the third round, he goes out there, low IQ Chandler tries to go for a flashy slam to get all the crowd members on their feet to make everyone cheer for him and whatnot. He takes Dustin down, he slams him, and then all of a sudden he wants to catch his breath. And I think that he disrespected the grappling of Dustin Poirier in that moment because I believe that he had the back. But because he was trying to catch his breath, Dustin Poirier reversed the position, then got on the back of Michael Chandler, and the speed at which he was able to sink the hooks in, to get the body lock, to take Chandler's back, and to maintain it was amazing. Very speedy transition from Dustin Poirier, and then he just takes Chandler's neck, snaps both of them back on the ground, and submits him. And I believe that if Justin Gaethje at any point gets rocked in this fight, it's very possible that Dustin Poirier can take advantage of that by putting Gaethje on the ground. And when Gaethje is rocked, he does not make good decisions on the ground. He doesn't know what the fuck he is doing down there. And I give Dustin Poirier the massive edge in grappling. Now, does Dustin Poirier go out there and shoot a double leg and take him down? I don't think so. And of course, I don't think Justin Gaethje is going to be fearing that at all. But I'm just saying that if there's any hairy moments and if this ends up on the ground, I massively favor Dustin Poirier to win the fight. Now, if Gaethje is to win this fight, I believe he's got to go out there and bring out the old Dustin Poirier, the Dustin of old. I believe that Justin Gaethje, because he trains at altitude and he does it year-round, I think he lives in Colorado, so, he's not just going out there a couple of weeks early to acclimate a little bit, and at the end of the day, a couple of weeks is not enough. I'm sure that Dustin Poirier has been sleeping in his fucking altitude tank in Coconut Creek, Florida, wherever he trains at American Top Team, but at the end of the day, guys, that's not a good replacement for living at altitude. So Justin Gaethje, if anything, is probably going to have the better cardio. And that's what I'm saying. He's got to drag Dustin Poirier into a high-paced battle. And I believe that if I'm talking about just the pace, Justin Gaethje's cardio is phenomenal. And so, in my opinion, I feel like he's kind of got to bring out the old Dustin Poirier because Dustin's probably not used to going a hard 5 rounds at altitude. I think he's got to try to play cat and mouse with Poirier. He's got to try to make Poirier chase after him. However he's able to do it, he's got to be able to frustrate him. He's got to be able to make Poirier want to get those moments back and kind of try to tee off on him like the Poirier in the first fight. But it's going to be a lot easier said than done because of the way Poirier is fighting these days. He's so experienced. He's much wiser. Both guys are a lot wiser. Both guys are more experienced. But at the end of the day, I think that Justin Gaethje, guys, his way to win this fight is probably by decision. Like, I don't think he's going to go out there and finish DP unless DP has like a colossal, gas out moment to where he just cannot even hold his fucking arms up in the 3rd round and the altitude hits him hard. Other than that, if he's able to at least keep a decent pace in this fight, I don't think Gaethje is going to finish him. I think Gaethje would have to win a decision. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Who are you picking to win this matchup? Until next time.
What's up, guys? It's Lucas Tracy MMA, and I'm wondering if you're trying to look like Yoel Romero. Well, if you don't have his genetics, that's impossible, but I could at least help you get halfway there with my Ultimate Lifting program, and if you're a beginner, my Novice Lifting program. These are programs that I've used my 9 years of experience in the gym to make so that you can put on as much muscle as possible in as little amount of time as possible. And it'll also give you a variety of workouts so that you never get tired of the gym. So if you're interested, click the link in my description. And for a discount, use code MMA for 30% off.